Hello, everyone. Welcome to EdTech Thursday. Today's presentation is on Gemini, and Mr. Andy Enriquez will be presenting on how to use Gemini gems and prompting. My name is Maribel Martinez, alongside Mr. Andy Enriquez from Liberty Middle School. He is our CIT at Liberty Middle School. So with that said, I am going to hand it over to Mr. Andy Enriquez.
Guys, welcome. So today I'm going to go over Gemini. Gemini is Google's AI, and what I'm going to go over is making gems. So gems are kind of like a TaskRabbit, so to speak, and you can pretty much do so many things with Gemini, but Gemini gems is specifically what we're going to focus on. So we start with what is a gem. So a Gemini gem is a personalized custom AI assistant that you create within Google's Gemini AI. It allows you to save specific instructions and preferences for repetitive tasks. Um, this comes into play especially when I know our English teachers use it a lot when they're grading essays. So instead of having to copy and paste, you are a seventh grade English teacher reviewing a uh, short constructed response that is aligned to prompt, whatever the case may be. So Gemini just kind of saves all those things and all those instructions, all those direct instructions, and it keeps them in a gem for you. And you can just refer back to it and you just update it. And I'll go over that. So first, we'll start by accessing Gemini. So the way you'll access Gemini is you'll enter your Google Classroom, right, the way it is. And Gemini is over here on the top left. Sorry, I'm pointing at my screen. Gemini is over here on the top left, and we'll go ahead and go through it. So in Gemini, there's all these things at the top. These are just some of the different prompts for Gemini, and these are always changing. But what we want to look for is in the middle of the page, we'll scroll down and we'll go to start a chat. So these three buckets, this is where we'll make our gem, and this is where we will start a chat with Gemini. So first, starting with Gemini, this is just like I said, like a regular chat bot. You're able to create and have conversations with it. So I said, I started out saying, can you write me a lesson plan to help me manage my time better, right? So we all can use a little bit of help with time management. And I said, my students need 40 minutes total of iReady a week, and I want to spread it evenly throughout the week. I'm currently working on an apology letter for my students as we were working on an informational genre. And then I just went ahead and put the teaks right there. So Gemini, just like chat, just like Copilot, it has that back and forth with you, okay? And one cool thing about Gemini is that it lets you actually export into docs. Since it is tied into Google, it exports most of your answers. It'll export them into docs, or it can even let you draft it in an email or a Gmail, and then you just copy and paste over to your regular email from there. So here is what it would look like being exported. I know it's a little blurry, but that's just because these are screenshots from the actual doc. And it says, it shows the text, the learning objectives, the materials needed, and this is the lesson plan, So it's the lesson procedure, the 45 to 50 minutes, part 1, part 2, then part 3, part 4, the differentiation for our different learners, and the assessment. And this is just one example. It'll also let you create an infographic. So an infographic, I know, like I myself am a visual learner. I need to see it in order to better understand it or be able to explain it better. So within Gemini again, we'll go up here to create. So this is what you'll see when you get the answer back from Gemini. And we'll click create right here. And there's several different options. The most common would be the infographic or the flashcards. Like I said, you can also use it for studying. You can quiz yourself. But since this is a lesson plan, I do want to see how I can manage my time better. So I went ahead and had it create an infographic for me. So it tells me, the target audience is grade 8. It tells me my learning objectives, and it lets me see the pacing and the time allocation. So it tells me I have 15 minutes for the warm-up and iReady, 20 minutes for my lesson plan. For part 2 and part 3 of my lesson plan, the modeling and the guided practice. And I have 10 minutes for the independent work and closing statements or the closing of the lesson. And it also shows, like I said, just extra things. And like I said, it is tied in with Google. and it is very educational centered, at least when you sign in with your account, it is. And since you're signed in through Google Classroom, you access Gemini through Google Classroom. It already is, educational based. So it says you express remorse, you accept responsibility, you make amends, and you recommit to behavior. And those are the four core concepts for this lesson plan, which is analyze the characteristics and structural elements of informational text, including the controlling idea or the thesis with supporting evidence. And like I said, this was for an apology letter. Okay, so going back to Gemini, back to the Gemini home screen, these are some of the tasks, some of the options that you have. And like I said, they're always changing. Like from today to tomorrow, they could change. And Bell and I learned that really quick also. So to create a gem, we'll go to the middle bucket so that we'll just get there by scrolling down. And we'll look for the middle bucket where it says create a gem. And these are already some pre-made gems. So these 3 experiments, like I said, these have changed. Everything else here has changed. So we'll just go ahead and start with creating our new gem, our own gem. As you can see, these are the 3 that I'll be going over today. We'll start with the basics of Gemini, the basics of any AI, which is being intentional, specific, and precise. Okay, Gemini and any AI will only do what you tell it to do, right? So I put a little bit of He-Man here. You say, I have the power, right? Because you do have the power. You do have the power to create anything for your classroom based off of your specific instructions, your precise instructions, and the intentionality behind it. So for this 6th grade ECR, I put it in the prompt in the instructions. Like I said, you have to be intentional, specific, and precise. I put, you are an expert AI teaching assistant. You specialize in middle school 6th grade. Your task is to analyze a student essay based on the TEKS standard 6.6b, which requires students to demonstrate the understanding of text, including comparing sources within and across genres. You'll use the prompt analysis within the prompt. And then right here, this is where the teachers copy and paste the prompt, depending on the essay. So the prompt for this particular ECR was write an informational essay, explain the primary message the author conveys in this story. Students have read the story, Staying with Uncle Stephen, and we use the rubric to score the students between 1 and 5, 5 being the highest score possible. So I went ahead and added a glow and grow rubric down here. And we make sure to upload each individual essay. And the way we did it here at my campus was we copy and pasted the essays. We didn't copy and paste. We took screenshots of the essays and we put each student's first and last name here. So I went ahead and put, this is a different grade that I used. So I put, please grade the following samples. Each page is a different student with the title of the page being their name. So Gemini says, sorry, go ahead.
Andy, so once you create that gem, and the only thing you have to do is change the title of the prompt, right?
Yes, so anytime they're using a different essay or they're using this to grade something else, they'll change the prompt right here. So where it says write in an informational essay, explain the primary message, so on and so forth. It'll say if it's instead of an informational essay, it becomes a narrative. That's where the teachers would change. Okay, write a narrative essay. Tell me how your Christmas break was, or just because we're in Christmas break, that kind of thing. And from there, that's where the teachers copy and paste the actual questions from the essay, or they can just type it in.
So it definitely saves you time.
Yes, it saves a lot of time instead of having to copy and paste the exact instructions over and over for each student. It'll save it, it'll remember it, and it'll know like, okay, this is the way I need to think. So kind of like this is work, this is what work's going to do, and this is how I'm going to think for work.
Great.
So
great.
for 7th grade, I put some student samples in there. I got them from one of my coworkers, and he said that Gemini rated pretty on par with where he had it. It was a little bit stricter on some of the stuff, but he said, that's where the AI comes in. Like AI is very objective, and so like I said, we have to be intentional, precise, and specific. So I went ahead and said each page is a different student with the title of the page being their name. So this is where Gemini remembers, explain how Sophia's eagerness influences the events in the play. So this is the student's name, and this is the actual prompt that we put. So it's these two students, and it says, that's a great request. As the development of ideas, it goes ahead and it says, the thesis is clear, it addresses the prompt, and it gives two specific and well-chosen pieces of evidence, which are based off the rubric. It also gives me a score on the conventions, which is a 4 out of 5. So this would be an 8, according to one of the teachers. So what the teacher did was he averaged this score. So if it was like a 2 and a 3, he would give it a 5. Divide that by 2, it gives it a 2 plus his score since it's out of 10. So since this is an 8 divided by 2 again, it's 4 plus the score that he gave the student, it would be, I think he said the student got a 7 or an 8 as well. So he did say it was pretty on par with what his feedback would have been. So these are just some of my previously used gems. So there's a website I'll show you at the end of this called EduGems, and that's where I got these 4 gems from. So these gems are the science lab experiment, the informational text, the releveling text, which is very helpful when you have EBs or students with dyslexia and you need to relevel text down for them. So the students will still get the same comprehension and understanding, just at a level that they can understand it at. I use Gemini also for art. I showed one of the art teachers the usefulness, and I said, I had Gemini just pretend that it was an expert AI teaching assistant specializing in middle school 8th grade, and its task was to analyze student artwork based on the TEKS standard 4. I found a rubric, and I just got this art from Google, and I looked it up, and I put evaluate this according to the rubric, and make sure you give 2 glows and 1 grow. And please make sure to highlight the student effort, the skill, and the time spent perfecting said image. So Gemini went ahead and generated a response. This was the response from it. And you can even export it into docs, which is very useful, especially when it comes to having something concrete, something on paper when those meetings need to be had, or a student is asking for feedback, something they can take home and show their parents and like, hey mom, look what I got a B, I got an A, I got whatever the case may be. So we'll go ahead and go to this website. Oh, before we do, sorry, I'm going to show you the usefulness of Gemini with math. So I went ahead and had math, see, is it this one? Yes, so I went ahead and met with my math department. And during this TCLC, the math teachers were telling me that they were using Chat, they were using Copilot, and some of the graphs they were using on slope intercept, they were kind of like wonky, or the lines were crooked, or their numbers were like skip counting or uneven. And so what some of my math teachers were actually doing was they were copying and pasting the graph and then printing it, retracing the lines. So if the lines were wonky, they would retrace them with pen and pencil and then make copies off of that. So I said, look, Gemini, since it's part of Google, it pulls from Google's database and it will actually give you images. So some of these images I found were from Getty Images. Some of them are from Shutterstock. Of course, with Google's licensing and stuff, they're able to use them. The teachers were able to use them, especially since it's for education. So I asked Gemini, I said, please help me generate a graph to help my students find y-intercept and slope on a graph. And this was Gemini's response. The lines are clear. The numbers do skip count, but it does have a, rather clear number. So it eliminates all that extra work the teacher would have otherwise had to have gone through. So that's one of them. Here's another one. Generate a worksheet. So I said, okay, go ahead and give me a worksheet. Problem students can work on in class. 10 problem worksheet. And like I said, Gemini is always updating. So just because it's there now doesn't mean it's going to be there next week. So this is why we have to make sure we save our work and we're very intentional with our work. if you like something, you see it, copy paste it, right? Copy paste it, put it in Google Docs, put it in a PDF, because it pulled from Getty Images and then it changed it. So this is the person that uploaded it on Getty Images. And like I said, Gemini is always changing. This one was from Shutterstock and it's gone. So we have to make sure that uh, we stick with it, right? So here's just another one, an example. This one isn't skip counting, but it does show, again, the 4 and 4. Let's go back. Again, more graphs. I said create a problem set with 5 problems, right? So it created the 5 problems. Here were the images again, changed. But this is just to demonstrate some of the usefulness that Gemini keeps generating for us. So this website, edugems.ai, this website is very practical, and just like Gemini, it is always changing. So when this website was first made, there was only maybe about 10 or 15 gems. Excuse me. There's only about 10 or 15 gems. It was nowhere near this organized. And now there's so many. There's so many options. So gamified learning, historical what ifs, discussion prompts, 2 truths and a lie, just different games. And here's where I actually got the science lab presentation. Sorry, the science lab question. And I have that one here. Start life cycle. So in the science department, TCLC, I went ahead and I asked Gemini, please give me a science experiment for my 8th grade students in Texas. We're working on the life cycle of a star. So it is a collaborative process. So you have to make sure that, like I said, you are intentional, precise, and specific. And the response says, first, I'll ask you some questions to be sure we tailor the lab to your class. And Gemini, again, it has some questions for you. You answer them. I said it's a 45-minute class. I see the students every day. So it goes and it gives me the kind of like layout of the project, what's expected. And it says, before I generate the full instructions, the lab setup and the teacher moves needs to know the student's preparation. Do they have experience with data analysis, or do they need scaffolded steps? I put, please provide graphics. So Gemini knows, okay, graphics are definitely going to help the students, but do the students have experience with analysis and graphics? So it's persistent, it needs to find out how much my students know so that it can be there to help guide those students. So I said, okay, students need scaffolding steps. So it says, okay, so your 8th grade students need scaffolding steps. It helps me structure the activity. So here we go. It lays out everything. And it lays out the days, day by day. So day 1, and here was the image, but again, everything changes. Day 2, right here, here's the other image. And I said, can you generate the life cycle of a star graphic? So this is one image that generated. I didn't really like this image just because it's not very kid friendly. It doesn't really like grab their attention. It's more like a high school picture. So I said, please provide graphics again. So it adds the graph. Again, you have to be precise and specific. So I said, can you generate an image of the life cycle of a star? Find one from Shutterstock or similar quality to accompany the project. And this was the image that it found, which I love. And it has the AI picture down here. And the science teachers also love this one.
So this website that you showed us, EduGems, it has custom-made gems. And then what do you do? Do you copy them? Once you copy them, where do they go?
So what I've found that learns best is make a copy. So because gems are always changing, I don't know if this, if Eric Kurtz, the creator of this website, I don't know if he's going to change it later on. So I would rather make my own copy. So I'll go ahead and click make a copy. It opens it up in your Gemini account, your Google Classroom. And again, it sets up the instructions to tell you you're an experienced science teacher and master curriculum. So basically what we just went through, all those steps, except it's already done for you. Just kind of review it, make sure it makes sense to you, make sure there's no real misspellings, and make sure it has the
your TEKS, your standards?
Yes. So since this is an interaction, you would input the TEKS in the conversation, not in the instructions,
Yeah.
because it's a collaborative process.
Oh, I get it. Mm-hmm.
Right. So like interaction rules. So this is what Gemini is telling itself. Okay, here's a required interaction flow. So initiate the conversation by giving credit to the prompt creator and then state your purpose and the collaborative nature of the task. So for example, hi. So this is what Gemini is telling itself. So you are telling Gemini to tell itself this. Hi, I'm here to help you get started on your science lab experiment. First, I'll ask you some questions to be sure we tailor the lab to your class, school, and style.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a rubric, something you want to follow, you can add that to the gem. But we can practice here. So, hello, please help me create a science lab experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Gemini thinking. Okay, it's crafting an engaging lab. Hi, I'm here to help you get started. It'll ask me some questions. Tell me a goal about it. So what specific topic? So we can say, I am a 6th grade science teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and we are working on Newton's laws of motion.
Mm-hmm.
So something simple.
So then it starts having that conversation with you back and forth
Right.
to get you to the point that you need.
Right. And you can tweak it as much as you need to. You can change it. Like I said, this is not saved. This is just a sample. It's a preview.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not happy with this, you can tweak the instructions.
Okay.
So here, one of the main things to note is that you should always, whether it's a gem that you found and you made, copy paste, or it's a gem that you made, you always want to make sure it offers revisions so that Gemini knows, okay, I'm going to help this person. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to help revise to get you from point A to point B with all those little stops on the way to make sure the end product is what you wanted and what you needed.
Gotcha.
So again, we can go through this. It could be a 2-minute process. It could be a 10-minute process. It really just depends on what you need, on what you want from the final product.
Mm-hmm. Good,
So yeah,
good.
so this is just a little bit of Gemini, and there's so much more, as you know, as you've seen. But yeah, that's if there's any questions.
And then once you save it, you can go back to gems, right?
Of course. So here in the corner, you'll see this little hamburger style menu. So we'll click there, and these are all of my gems that I've made. The previous gems, the first one helped me write SGMs. To substitute teacher instructions to Romeo and Juliet graphic novels. So that was one of the prompts actually. So we'll go ahead and leave. This was one of the prompts actually from the EduGems AI.
Got it.
So I said, help me make a graphic novel. And this is Romeo and Juliet in a graphic novel.
And we'll go ahead and include this link for EduGems on the YouTube video so that they can access the website.
And like I said, it's always changing. So just because you see this now doesn't mean when you see this video in, a week or 2 or a month or even a year, it'll be the same. Hopefully it's better. It's been better each time that we use it. So yeah.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, that concludes our training with Mr. Andy Enriquez on Gemini gems and prompting. And thank you so